All right, so I just want to address again and debunk the nonsense that is going on that has to do with, again, these people who are critics who are writing articles on this movie and they have it at a certain spin. Now, here they say here Warner Brothers' new strategy on DC, lighten up superheroes. And this was an article that was written back in September 8th, which was yesterday, at 3:47 p.m. by Ben Fritz. Okay? And this is what the article says. They're two of the most successful movies of the year, grossing a combined $1.5 billion at the global box office. Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and Suicide Squad are two of the year's biggest disappointments. That's according to him. Met with viciously negative reviews, bitter fans' complaints, and large second week sales drops that indicate word of mouth was unkind, to say the least. All right? We're going to go into all of that, don't worry. The Wall Street Journal's Joe Morgenstern wrote that Suicide Squad represented an all-out attack on the whole idea of entertainment due to its exceptional cynicism and startling ineptitude. All right. So clearly, this person starts off with a bias, all right? And I want you to see the kind of behavior that we have. But we have to deal with all the inaccuracies step by step. Let's start with the first one. Said this is the year's two biggest disappointments, Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad. That's what they're saying, all right? Is that true? Right? Is that fact and true? The next thing they say is it was met with viciously negative reviews. Again, is that true? By critics, maybe. But is it so by people who are the audience? Bitter fans' complaints. Who are these bitter fans? Are they the majority? And second weekend sales drops that indicate word of mouth was unkind. Now, they say that those big drops means that word of mouth was unkind, yet, so far, Suicide Squad has longer legs than even Captain America Civil War. So what are you really saying? Right? So this person, they're building their statement. They're building their argument. This person is a critic, by the way. The Wall Street Journal's Joe Morgenstern wrote that Suicide Squad represented an all-out attack on the whole idea of entertainment due to its exceptional cynicism and startling ineptitude. That's his opinion. All right? And he's probably a critic, so that's what he does. Now, you see already this person begins their case argument trying to say that these movies are terrible, right? Warner Brothers is responding to this paradox by charging full speed ahead with plans for its DC cinematic universe, while conceding the movies to date have fallen creatively short and a rare public admission in Hollywood. Where is he getting his information from? Well, he's going to base his information on what Jeff Johns says and what John Berg says. Let's see if they actually say that. The studio reworked 2007 Slater Justice League. They said they reworked it in hopes of making it less grim and depressing than March's Batman v Superman. So he's basically saying, in response to Batman v Superman's reception, they're changing how Justice League will look. In other words, he's inferring that it's going to be dark and gritty and that they're changing it up. And it has put fan favorite comic book and TV writer Jeff Johns in a senior position overseeing the next wave of movies, along with veteran production executive John Berg. The thing about it is they were always in those positions. Shuffle them around, really. One of the duo's main goals, they said in their first interview since taking jobs this past spring, is to make DC superheroes on the big screen more inspiring. Mistakenly in the past, I think the studio has said, oh, DC films are gritty and dark, and that's what makes them different. That couldn't be more wrong, said Jeff Johns, who has written comic books featuring most of the company's top superheroes. It's a hopeful and optimistic view of life. Even Batman has a glimmer of that in him. If he didn't, he'd make tomorrow better. If he didn't think he'd make tomorrow better, he would stop. Many have complained that such a sense of optimism was precisely what was missing from director Zack Snyder's Batman v Superman and his 2013 Superman reboot, Man of Steel. Neither Ben Affleck's Batman nor Henry Cavill's Superman crack a smile. It's not true at all. And both films feature so much death and destruction, including killings perpetrated by the main characters, that bloggers label them the DC Cinematic Murderverse. Again, not true. The shuffle that made DC movies a full job for Messrs. Berg and John comes soon after the public reactions to Batman v Superman. Previously, no Warner Brother executives were devoted exclusively to the studio's superhero films. Mr. Berg worked on them along with other productions, and Mr. John was a consultant with no authority. Okay, that is true. They made them execs, but it's not because of a reaction to Batman v Superman, but because they decided to upgrade their higher slate of movies. So he's being deceptive again. Their appointments indicate that after giving Mr. Snyder the type of long leashes accorded Christopher Nolan in the Dark Knight Batman trilogy, Warner has concluded it needs to oversee its DC movies more closely. And that is a crock of bullshit. Because, the truth be told, Snyder will not be there all the time. His job was to launch the universe and then move out. But we will get to that in a minute. A spokeswoman for Mr. Snyder said he was unavailable for comment. Again, he's making a movie, so of course he wouldn't have time. Let's just skip all the bullshit and get to the point, because they're going to go ahead and talk about, how this wasn't a lighthearted movie and blah, 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 blah. The point is, John Berg says, to have these characters be part of the fabric of pop culture is so rewarding, though, of course, we're disappointed the movies weren't better reviewed. He's talking about critically reviewed, said Mr. Berg. He spoke from the London set of Justice League, where Mr. Snyder is a few weeks away from completing a 5-month shoot. Justice League was, okay, and that's basically it. We accelerated the story to get to the hope and optimism a little faster, said Mr. Berg. And that's with respect to Batman v Superman, but they will never say that, okay? Well, all right, enough of this stupid article, which is just a load of bullshit. Let's look at what transpired in reality. First of all, we will start off by looking in time, because it's always good to look at things in time. Now, before Batman v Superman came out in the cinemas, here's an article that shows us that the Justice League movie was not going to be dark like Batman v Superman. Even before the movie came out, Chris Terrio said this. So it wasn't, first and foremost, that Warner Brothers was trying to course correct. The fact is, they already had their plans for the Justice League to be a lighter movie. So this article is March 11th, 2016 when it comes out. Batman v Superman, just so you guys can see from facts, came out March 25th, 2016. The critics got to see it a few days before. Okay? Now, this is what Mr. Terrio says before Batman v Superman came out. For these dumbasses. From the same Wall Street Journal. They posted a great interview with Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice screenwriter Chris Terrio today. He's best known for Argo, and right now he's also helping with the movie that Ben Affleck is in the DC Extended Universe. Terrio admits that he didn't read comics growing up, blah, 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 blah. Don't need to know about all of that. To prepare for Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice script, Terrio read a lot of Batman comics by writers like Frank Miller and Grant Morrison. He wrote Justice League Part 1 and says, it won't be as dark as Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. However, Terrio isn't sure he'll be coming back to write Justice League Part 2. Now here's what it says. Was there any question in your mind you'd write Justice League as well? I initially thought I wasn't the guy to do Justice League and went off to work on something else. But the first day I went to the set, I saw Jesse Eisenberg in a scene with Holly Hunter, and I really did feel like I was watching some strange, great performance in an independent film. Notice they say again that Batman v Superman felt like an indie film, and that's how I felt too. At that moment, I thought, I'm not done with this yet. I want to go back and keep telling the story. Batman v Superman is a bit of an Empire Strikes Back, or Two Towers, or any similar middle film in a trilogy. The middle film tends to be the darkest one. I do not think from Man of Steel, though, Justice League, it is one saga really. I expect Justice League will be tonally not quite as dark as Batman v Superman. From that point of view, I felt compelled to go back and try to lift us and myself into a different tonal place, because I think when you write a darker film, sometimes you want to redeem it all a bit. There are many DCE movies to come, including a second Justice League. Will you be writing more? I've written Justice League Part 1, but I won't necessarily write Part 2. This has been the most rigorous intellectual exercise I've had in my whole life. The point is, Chris Terrio is telling you that Justice League is going to be a much lighter film than Batman v Superman. And Jeff Johns indicates that, John Berg indicates that. In fact, John Berg says that in the Justice League, they're going to explain why Batman was killing in the first movie. So you actually get the understanding of it. And so clearly, Warner Brothers already had it in mind that Batman v Superman was going to be the heaviest movie, and it needed to be that way, and the rest of the movies would be lighter. And that's what you saw in Suicide Squad. People were saying, oh, Suicide Squad, it was reshoots for more comedy. Bullshit. You can't make a movie comical like that. It doesn't happen. You can't just go and add comedy to a movie that's heavy. That was written comical. And how do we know this? Beginning of the year, Suicide Squad was funny. And all of these trailers, just go check the trailer dates. They're way before Batman v Superman came out. And they're all funny, which means he had to have made the adjustment. He had to make the adjustment before Batman v Superman came out. The people are saying, oh, they adjusted it, and how they did 2 different cuts after Batman v... They didn't do shit after Batman v Superman. All the fan viewings, if anybody knows, was at the end of last year. People got to screen the movie. Beginning of this year, they were screened. And that was before Batman v Superman. I think there was a screening also after Batman v Superman, actually. All right? And they looked at the 2 different cuts of the film, and the fans liked the cut that was a little bit more funny. Okay? At the end of the day, they were not going to make a serious film. They were going to make a lighter film than Batman v Superman, but just with messed up characters. Right? And the film that they came out and did, okay, maybe the other alternate cut might have been a little bit more serious than that one, but it was still going to be funny. And it probably would have had a little bit more of different things. It might not have been as focused as this one. All right? There's not going to be an ultimate cut, people, of Suicide Squad. There's not going to be, because nobody ever announced it. So stop trying to expect that. There was no ultimate cut for Man of Steel. There will be no ultimate cut for Suicide Squad. All right? I'm tired of the bullshit I hear in the media. These people who are writing, obviously, they have a warped view of things. This guy here who's writing this article, Mr. Ben Fritz, who we already know is a critic, he didn't like the movie. So of course he's going to express his bias. And his bias is so blatant. Blatant bias. The film has succeeded. It's doing extremely well. And this biased, stupid critic comes and tries to flavor it how he feels the storyline should go. He's lying all the way through. And you as fans need to spread this video. Spread these videos. Because we're going to expose these people, these hypocrites. Because they're going to try and come after Wonder Woman next. And they're going to critically pan that movie. And people are going to be, the critics, the movie was flawed. The movie wasn't flawed. Suicide Squad movie wasn't flawed more than any other movie out there. In fact, it's a better movie in story than a ton of Marvel movies. Than a ton of Universal-driven movies. It's better than Transformers. It's better than all those Marvel movies. Hulk, Iron Man. Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3 had no story. No story. They're character-driven films. Even the praised Civil War, which had a worse story than Winter Soldier. They don't got no story. I mean, it's the hypocrisy is what I can't take from the media, because we know that the people who are in the media, they're the critics. It's bullshit. That's why the fans are standing up now, and they're just, they're disliking a lot of things, and they're becoming vocal, and they need to become vocal for Wonder Woman. I don't care if the critics like it or don't like it. I couldn't care less how they feel anymore about these films. All right? We've seen too much abuse, critical bashing of films we like. And the problem with it is, if the films were worse than other films around them, then they wouldn't be viewed by so many people for so long. Those are facts. And it is disrespectful to go dumping all over the fans all around the world, and also people who appreciate these movies saying they're garbage. And you know damn well that a lot of films that you've been reviewing were worse than it. Worse than it. There ain't no way in hell Ghostbusters is a better film than this film. No way in hell The Hulk is a better film than these films. So why are the critics rating The Hulk a better film than these films? How the hell is that happening? X-Men Apocalypse can't touch Batman v Superman. Why the hell is Batman v Superman 27% on Rotten Tomatoes? And they were about to pan X-Men. They were about to pan it, but the fans jumped up and they had to back off. Because the only thing these dumbasses will understand is you fans start to really lash them. Then they're going to call you fanboys. Well, you're going to have to call everybody fanboys. The fanboys close down Ghostbusters, and we will close down other movies that you try to push. Yeah, you can pan the movies. They're still going to be blockbuster hits. And the next movie might just cross $1 billion in your face. And we will tongue lash you, critics. We will come down like the wrath of the Holy Ghost on you for your biasness in this industry. You people are bought out. Hollywood is bought out. Hearing Mel Gibson, as Grace Randolph was saying, bought out. Got to toe the line. Because Sony and Disney got the money. Fuck you, critics. Fuck you. And it ain't going to make a difference what happens in the industry. That's what I got to say. You guys have a great one.